I'm actually pre-recording this episode of the Q&A. By the time you guys see this, the previous Q&A probably would have been up for maybe like 3 or maybe 4 days, but it's only been up for 9 hours for me right now. You guys already got that video to 350 likes, so you should be able to hit that goal of 400 that I set in that video. Should be being the operative word. Let's see if we can do it again. Let's go for 400. Pretty insane that you guys managed to hit that goal. All right, let's get in some questions. Hey BILBZY, what's your favorite Marvel character that hasn't appeared in a movie or TV show? I'm gonna assume that this question is asking about live action TV shows and movies because pretty much every character has appeared in some type of animated show or movie. So assuming you're talking about the live action TV shows and movies, I guess I'll go with some type of Spider-Man character like Carnage. Honestly, the biggest draw to Marvel for me is absolutely Spider-Man. None of the other characters are like the most exciting thing in the world to me, but all the characters surrounding Spider-Man I think are really cool. If you could pick another fictional universe, Marvel, Star Wars, etc., which would you pick to have a fighting game like Injustice 2 with a gear system / multiverse? I'm assuming this means like keeping the same gameplay mechanics and everything like that. Basically, if I could create Injustice 2 in another universe, what universe would I pick? I don't know, the DC universe is actually my favorite universe. It's one of the big reasons I was drawn to Injustice 2. My answer would probably be something just really boring like Marvel, I guess. The reason I say it's boring is just because, I mean, it's pretty obvious that that's what I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna combine these two questions together because my answer is the exact same. Do you think Trigon could be a villain in Injustice 3? And what do you think of SPECTRE as a main villain in Injustice 3? I think both of these characters could work as villains in Injustice 3, but I don't think either of them would be like a main villain. The problem with having a main villain in like a big game like Injustice is that they need to be immediately recognizable to your casual fan. And I don't think a lot of casual fans know who Trigon or SPECTRE is. And the reason the character needs to be immediately recognizable is so that you can market that. It's really difficult to market a character like Trigon and SPECTRE, who most people haven't heard of, but a way you could market it is like a team of supervillains, and then have like a couple of them be like instantly recognizable and just focus on them in the trailers. So maybe that's a way they can incorporate Trigon and SPECTRE, but apart from that, no, I don't see either of them being a main villain. Hey BILBZY, do you think that we could get Legends of Tomorrow gear set for Adam and Black Canary in Injustice 2? And then somebody added saying, and Firestorm. Again, all of the CW stuff is up in the air. It's impossible to tell right now because currently there's no actually easy way for them to implement any CW stuff into the game other than the gear system. And I think a lot of us, especially the people who actually watch the CW shows, would have preferred like a Premier Skin style system, like a costume that changed the voice lines and all that stuff, and change what the actual player models themselves just look like, rather than just changing the gear. Like, imagine how cool it would be if we could have Gal Gadot herself as Wonder Woman. Obviously, that's not the case because she would have to come in and do voice lines, although not necessarily. They could just keep the old voice lines and then change what the character looks like, which is what I would be in favor of. And in my earlier video about MK11, I mentioned that I think NetherRealm should go in this direction of adding not only the Premier Skin system with the gear system, but also a costume system which allows them to be a little bit more flexible with what Premier Skins currently are. But other than that, I think all of the CW stuff is up in the air. I'm not going to say either way if we're going to get Legends of Tomorrow gear. I don't even know if we're going to get CW gear at this point. I've got my fingers crossed because it would be ideal for me because I love the CW shows, but there's just no evidence to support that we're going to get CW stuff at all, unfortunately. Do you think that they'll add legendary gear for head, chest, arms, and legs? No. At this point, it's not looking like they will. The legendary gear system right now is like a massive buff to your character, completely changing the style of gameplay. Atrocitus gets out Dexter the entire game with his legendary piece of gear, and it's all tied to the accessory. It's really hard to make one of those legendary gear pieces for a character and come up with something that's unique and not actually like insanely overpowered, because overpowered is relative, right? Assuming you both have a legendary piece of gear, it's fairly equally grounded. Like, they need to be roughly of equal power. So trying to create one of those for each character is already pretty difficult. Trying to create 5 of those for every single character would be incredibly difficult. In fact, I would say impossible. So unless they changed what legendary gear means, and perhaps maybe made it like a set, which I don't think they would be doing in Injustice 2, but maybe it's something they could do moving forward in, say, MK11 and Injustice 3. Perhaps maybe have entire gear sets that give you that buff. But I think that's also a bad idea because it's hard to incorporate that, because you want to be able to change your look as well, and also keep your legendary gear piece. So having a legendary gear piece that does all of that is really nice because it's something low profile. So in the example of Batman, my utility belt, which is my accessory, if that's my legendary gear piece, I can incorporate that into any one of my custom loadouts, and they can still all look very different. So if we do like legendary headpiece, chest, arms, legs, and accessory, you're never going to be able to change up your look because you're always going to want those best items on. Hey BILBZY, do you think Terminator could have a chance in Injustice 2 or MK11? Definitely more so MK11. We're just approaching the end of the DLC cycle in Injustice 2, and there's been no word about Terminator, and in all honesty, I don't even think Terminator would necessarily work for either game. Not because it's impossible to make a moveset for him. Of course it's possible. Everything is possible. You can make a moveset out of anything. The problem is, I'm not sure how marketable he is. There's a lot of young people who play these games, and I'm like just within the generation of people who should know Terminator and who have seen the Terminator films. And I would say that I'm on the older side of the people who play these games. So I don't know if he's that marketable, but maybe? I don't know. I'm not a marketing major, I can't tell you, but my assumption would be that he's not very marketable. Pretend that Justice League gear sets like Flash, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg can happen. He's asking about the movie gear. Would you want them to? Duh. What does this question even mean? Of course I do. Why wouldn't you? I don't even see a reason. Even if you don't want to use Flash, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, you don't want to use those characters, or more specifically the Justice League gear for those characters, then don't use them. But there's no reason for them not to be in the game if it's possible, because for the people who do want to use them, they would get a thing that they want, and ideally we should want everyone getting what they want. Obviously that's not always possible, but yeah, there's no reason for it not to be there, unless of course they just literally can't do it. They don't have the time, the budget, or the permission to do so. Do you think Impulse or Kid Flash has a chance of being in Injustice 3? Oh my god, I hope so. You guys already know this, Barry Allen is my favorite fictional character of all time, and I love playing him in Injustice 2, and I've recently started playing him, but oh my gosh, this character's execution is actually so difficult. And it's nice to have that character. That character and his moveset belong in Injustice. It has a really good place in the game. People like Honeybee get to strive with the character using the rushdown gameplay style that is so unique to the Flash. However, having a speedster in the game which has an entirely different moveset would be nice. Not only because there's characters like Kid Flash and Impulse who don't get a chance to show up on the roster because they're too different from Barry Allen to be able to do a premiere skin for, however too similar to have an entirely different character for. We saw some tools for zoning with the Flash in this game through the gear system, like the projectile he has with the gear ability, and I feel like you can do a lot of different stuff like that with a new moveset for specifically Kid Flash or Impulse. So I really hope that ends up happening because, again, I would like to have access to another speedster that is slightly easier to play, because there's probably a lot of people out there who would like to play a speedster, but damn, the Flash is a hard character to play, and it's a character that I'm still trying to learn because I want to play him because I love speedsters, and more specifically, I love the Flash. But yeah, that's a hard character to tell people that's the only speedster. What stage would you like the most? I've said it a few different times, but I'll say it again. I would really like to see Central City. I like Central City a lot, and I'm sure it would be very beautiful. Imagine like a big belly burger in the background. Oh, even better, the stage transition. You like kick him into the big belly burger, and you're like in the kitchen and you're fighting, and then you end up knocking him out of the building. Oh my god, I want to see Big Belly Burger somewhat referenced in the game. Obviously, the Flash runs to what we're assuming is Big Belly Burger. He runs and picks up a cup, and then he like drinks in between each round. But like still, I want like an actual Big Belly Burger that I can see. Do you think Negan from The Walking Dead could be a DLC character in Injustice 3? Or Mortal Kombat 11. I guess he could work in Mortal Kombat 11. The problem is actually getting permission to use the character, right? AMC is not owned by Warner Brothers, I don't think. Hold on one second. Just Googling that to check my facts. Alright, just based on a quick Wikipedia article, no, they're not connected in any way, although they have done business deals in the past, so I suppose it's possible? So maybe? But I'm gonna go ahead and say he probably won't show up in either game. Will you be as involved in MK11 as you are in Injustice 2? This entirely depends on what NetherRealm does with MK11. Like I've talked about in the past, I would really like a dedicated ranked mode, which actually displays like an icon, whether I'm bronze, silver, gold, diamond, whatever, or if they have the gear system. If those two things aren't in MK11, then probably not. I'll still upload MK11, I'm sure, when it comes out, but probably nowhere near as much as I do Injustice 2. I don't know, I'm gonna have to figure it out when it actually comes around, but those two things are really important to me. Would you you want an Injustice prequel game that covers some of the best moments in the comics or whatever happens before Injustice? It's an interesting idea, but I actually have a completely different direction to take with Injustice 3. I actually thought about it on the weekend. I know in the past I've talked about how I'd like them to do something with the Titans, but I actually have a much better idea that I'm going to talk about in a future video, probably sometime this week. What about Mirror Master for Injustice 3? This is a great idea. Injustice 3 is going to need a Flash villain for Flash to fight. They probably won't do Grodd again due to his fate in the Injustice 2 story, and Mirror Master's just a really cool villain. He'll probably have a teleport. I'm actually really interested. I wonder what they could do with his kit. Definitely he'll have a teleport though. Alright, there you go. There's all the questions. Thank you guys for all the amazing questions you guys bring me every single episode. It's actually so heartwarming to know that I can post a Q&A and I'm definitely going to get back awesome questions within the first 12 hours of uploading it. That's like pretty amazing that you guys are right there ready to supply me with some awesome questions. I don't know what it is about that, but I find that really like heartwarming. It's like you're there for me. So thank you for that. My name has been BILBZY, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.